Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So this is interesting. A lot of people think that for whatever reason, that I hate Mercedes Mone and I hate AEW and I hate Tony Khan. Listen, I just am frustrated in general with the way things are presented on the AEW side, and some of the fans that get in my comments or get defensive or just like hate what I'm saying. It gets frustrating because I feel like there could be so much more effort and so much more, care given to the product as a whole for AEW. That it would be perceived in a better light. Um, but I want to talk about women's wrestling here because yes, you know, the women's wrestling product in WWE isn't perfect, but the roster is just so much better. And you can tell that WWE cares just way more about their women's wrestling product than AEW does. And in terms of a talent base, AEW, if they book their women better, could have a comparable amount of women, like, seemingly in a better spot. Um, I don't like the way that the women's championships in WWE have been booked really since WrestleMania. It seems like the United States Championship is going in a direction. Julia's probably going to end up winning it at some point off of Zelina Vega. And good for Zelina. She got a championship run in her career. The Intercontinental title is honestly, post WrestleMania, probably the best booked women's championship, which is saying a lot because Becky Lynch has just walked in there and just done yeoman's work and brought out something out of Lyra Valkyrie that we haven't seen. Bayley's back in the best position that she's been in since WrestleMania last year when she was the champion. So that's infinitely. But, Io Sky has not had a title defense since WrestleMania, which is wild to me. Tiffany Stratton's had one title defense since WrestleMania. We're heading into Evolution, and it's just, if I'm going to be critical and I'm going to be honest here, they've for whatever reason, I don't understand this under Triple H. For whatever reason, if you're a champion, you just are not booked very well. It's like a crutch. It's wild to me that women's championships in WWE, if you are holding a title belt, it's like they forget about you. Like, because a lot of the stuff going on beneath the championships heading into Evolution is really interesting. Like I said, the mid-card titles are interesting. Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyrie over the Intercontinental title has been great. Liv Morgan is seemingly heading into a program with Nikki Bella. And it's probably going to be, it's either going to be that one-on-one match or it's going to be the Bellas versus Raquel and Liv for the tag team titles. There's a report that Trish Stratus is going to show up on Smackdown next week. That could be interesting because maybe we get Trish and Tiffany for the women's championship at Evolution, which would be certainly a definite move. And for whatever reason, Tiffany can't get away from Nia Jax, which I don't understand. I don't have anything against Nia. I actually think Nia has been one of the big pieces of the women's division. But Nia and Tiffany have basically been feuding for most of this year. And I don't understand that. All this is leading to my point of, as uneven as it is in WWE with some of the things as they head to Evolution, and a lot of people are mad that they're using this as a crutch to basically take away from, the greatest women's match of all time in AEW. Have you guys paid attention to what's going on in AEW and what's really happened in the last year? And some of this is on Mercedes Mone, and I don't know how much creative control. We can debate that till we're blue in the face. Mariah May's now gone. She's Blake Monroe in NXT now. Megan Bangin has gone through there, and now she's in a tag team. Like, you've had all of these people. Ty Mello's now back. She finally wrestled her first match in 2 years after, giving birth. So you have women there. Penelope Ford's been a good hand there, but she's never really been thought of. Chris Statlander's lost a bunch of matches and is seemingly turning heel. You've got Willow Nightingale, who's been embedded with the Death Riders for basically the entire time that the Death Riders have been a thing. My question is, where is the care for the women's division in AEW? If you're a women's wrestling fan, do you really think that AEW cares about the women's division? And leave out the fact that Mercedes and Toni are the two best women maybe working in all of professional wrestling. And they're going to have that match on their belt. And that's, you can hang your hat on that. Absolutely. Because I think it's really cool that those two are going to get in the ring together and wrestle each other. And to my recollection, I don't think they've ever had a one-on-one match together. They might have had something in WWE, but I don't think it's ever happened, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about, considering how gifted those two are. And two of the more underappreciated people on the WWE side. Like Sasha Banks could have been way more than what she was, even though she was like a 5, 6 time women's champion, but she was never thought in the same limelight as Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch. She never was. Toni Storm won the frickin' Mae Young Classic over Io Shirai, the then Io Shirai, now Io Sky. She won that. Never amounted to anything. She was getting pies in the face from Charlotte Flair and never even got a payoff feud. So to see where they are, but and a lot of this is because Toni Storm just, really, when AEW needed somebody to step up in that women's division when it was kind of in between, the Thunder Rosa championship run and it was post Britt Baker being the champion there, they needed somebody to step up. And they did, and Toni Storm stepped up on multiple different occasions. And she's made something of herself, and I give her a ton of credit for that. But outside of that, what the fuck is this women's division now? You can't convince me that Tony Khan cares about women's wrestling with how he has booked his women's division. And then your greatest women's match of all time, one of the, what everybody's telling me, hashtag timeless Monday main event or whatever the hell it is. And you can't tell me for 3 weeks since this match, which we all knew was going to happen at some point, and I thought they didn't need to go to this, and then they rush it, and now the booking that they've done for 3 weeks has basically been Toni Storm and Mercedes Mone vaguely just exchanging nothing looks at each other, and, really a minimal physical interaction. Mercedes eating dinner during 2 matches, and then, a minimal beatdown last week. And now, hey, Mercedes Mone is challenging for another women's championship on the build to All In. Why does she need to be in another match for because it's Arena Mexico and it's CMLL's show and, you're doing a cross thing. Why is this happening? How does this benefit AEW? How does this benefit AEW? You can't convince me that AEW really cares about women's wrestling. You really can't. You want to know why? Look at 2 weeks ago. What was it? Like 3 matches and they had a combined 12 to 14 minutes. So you know what they did this week? They threw a bunch of random matches. Granted, Tekla and, Queen Aminata was actually okay. You had the tag team match and one thing they're going to do is just throw a women's tag team titles, which I don't think is going to work out. I mean, it didn't work out for WWE. Why would it work out for AEW? Megan Bain was in a world title picture. Now she's, playing tag team, she's playing tag team with Penelope Ford. It's just, and now you've got Chris Statlander and Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. Like, why are none of these women really being presented in a better way? Then you got Athena, one of the great women's wrestlers ever, being tucked away on Ring of Honor. And she gets called up for basically 2 matches just to put over Mercedes Mone in the tournament and be forgotten about. Jamie Hayter gets a decent little push after, returning back on the pre-show of All In her home country last year, only to now turn around in a roundabout way, finally get pushed right around Double or Nothing season, only to just lose to Mercedes Mone, get basically beaten up in the worst debut ever by Tekla, and now she hasn't been on television since. And at some point, she's going to come back and probably lose to Tekla. Like, what is the booking of this women's division? Like, there are problems, and there have been some issues within WWE. Like I said, I do not like the way that the championships have been booked since WrestleMania. But the one thing that you can say is they care about their women. Their women are getting time. Like Naomi has been genuinely one of the most interesting people in WWE since the start of the year when she was revealed as the attacker for Jade Cargill. The Queen of the Ring tournament stuff has been fantastic so far. You had a really innovative finish for Alexa Bliss. Io Sky had it in Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, and maybe one of the best women's matches I've ever seen in company history. One of the best triple threats ever. It's just, what is women's wrestling in AEW? You jobbed out your whole division. Now your greatest women's match of all time is based around dinner and, lesbian undertones and whatever. And there's nothing really there. And then, hey, Mercedes Mone is so focused on winning the Women's World Championship in AEW that she's challenging for another championship in Mexico this week. Gee, that's a great endorsement of women's wrestling in AEW. What the fuck is this, man? Like, people think I hate AEW. I hate what AEW has become because they could be so much better with some of the talent that they have, but they've booked that division completely into oblivion, specifically when it comes to the women's division. And now what are they doing? They're putting a bunch of tag teams together to try and convince everybody that they are a better tag team division than WWE. And who knows, maybe they might be able to handle it, but that's not saying much. And, hey, it's just a bunch of people who lost to Mercedes, lost to Tony. It's not a good reflection of where this women's division is. So, listen, I don't know where the fuck this is going. And maybe they could try to put together a compelling story. Some people are trying to tell me in the comments saying, man, hey, they'll book it good in the last 2 weeks. It's like, why not do something now and create a compelling story to get you into All In rather than just relying on, the two women to get you there? Because you've already buried the rest of the division and they're all in a pile where you're just going to make another title for them. Like, what is this, man? What is this? Tony Khan and AEW do not care about women's wrestling. They don't. They told you it 2 weeks ago, and then everybody complained about it. And now, hey, look, there's presto. Hey, there was a bunch of women's matches this week. You look at what's going on that CMLL show in Arena, Mexico. One women's match. One. And it's Mercedes Mone challenging for another world championship. What are we doing, man? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.